All righty. How you darn?
How you doing? How we feeling?
What's up, people? Welcome in. Let us know who's in the chat, who we're hanging out with. We are definitely going to be looking and focusing on some 2023 draft content today.
That's right,
Glad
baby.
to have you along. And we'll be much more active with the chat today as well as we look through some mock drafts and talk about landing spots.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes. What do you guys think of Hawkinson? Can I trade him away for a 24 first? This is an interesting topic because Badake and I have kind of been talking about this, like Godwin in particular. Hawkinson in particular for the last couple of weeks. And overall, my thought process is when you have this offense at its complete health with Swift, Williams, Jameson Williams, that is Amon-Ra St. Brown, I find it really hard to see this massive upside for TJ Hawkinson on a weekly basis. I think he very much fits into the boom bust category. So for me, we don't know what the contract situation looks like. Maybe he goes to a different team in the offseason. I'm not sure that hurts him. We talked about that. But for me, he's not someone I really prioritize keeping on my team or that I'm trying to trade for. I'm very open. If I can get a first-round pick for him, Badake, I would much rather do that and then go buy low on one of these tight ends for like a second or a third-round pick that are just as boom bust as him.
Yeah, and I was just looking at his contract. He's a free agent in 2024. He'll be 27 at the time. I think they might keep him, thinking about long term. And we were saying to benefit him.
Blaze is probably going to bark at this. Shout out to Blaze. If you know, you know. But anyway, do you have anything final thoughts?
Final thought is that it might benefit him, but if I can get a 2023 or 24 first, sure, I see what I can do. Maybe flip him, maybe go younger. Daniel Bellinger. I mean, can you get a 24 first? And maybe Daniel Bellinger take a shot? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe that's too fun. Maybe that's too much.
No, I like it. We've constantly been kind of talking up the 2024 class, so don't be afraid to trade for 2024 picks. I really, really like the 2024 class, and I think it's massively undervalued. I've been saying that all offseason as well. Nathan says, the live stream was fire last night. So many ups and downs with Zach ending up getting the dub in the end. Guys, if you weren't with us on the redraft channel last night, it was absolute pure chaos as we watched live and reacted to the Chargers-Broncos game. In my home league, I needed Austin Eckler to get me like 24.8 points or something, right? And went into overtime. There were so many times where Sony Michel was brought in, and I'm like, what the hell are we doing? There were so many tip passes. There was like probably 40 yards and 4 receptions that were called back due to penalty because of penalties on the Chargers. So I should have had it in the bag. There were ups, there were downs. And then on the last catch for Austin Eckler, I was up by 0.3 points. I don't know if you guys remember, before they kicked the field goal, they ran the ball with Eckler twice in a row, and he had -1 yards on both of those plays. So I won, I believe, by 1 yard. I believe I won my matchup last night by 1 yard, or it might have been 2 yards.
Yeah, I think so.
When everything panned out, but it was pure chaos, and it was exhilarating. I mean, finally, it's good to be on the winning end of one of those close calls.
Yeah.
Ethan says CD, B-Rob, 2023 third, or JMO first and a second. That's an interesting one. He says trying to tank for the 101. Well, if you're trying to tank for the 101, give me the JMO side.
Yeah, I like the JMO side as well. I like CD though. I don't know. That's tough. 24 first, CD, B-Rob, 23 third, JMO 24 first and second. I think it's really close there, but I'll take JMO as well. I like CD side. I like that's tough.
What's up, Dustin? Yeah, we like the 23 class as well.
Yeah.
And Dustin agrees. Celtic Nation, let's ride. NBA starting soon. Everyone start tanking for Marvin Harrison Jr. He looks great. Him and Mika Egbuka. I actually prefer Mika Egbuka, but they're both very, very good wide receivers and probably will be first-round picks, no doubt. Just traded Waller for a 23 first in Bellinger. I like that.
Talk it up. Something special.
Drew says, in my home league, someone was down by 8 with McManus versus Mike Williams and won. That's pain. That's the beauty of fantasy football right
that is
there.
Beauty.
What's up, Reaver? Welcome in.
All
right, guys. What we are going to do today is we are going to look at some NFL mock drafts for 2023, and we're going to look at the landing spots, talk about if we like those landing spots, how it might impact that player's value in Dynasty, and then also talk about how it might impact the players around that player who lands in that spot.
Yeah.
We're going to look at 2 mock drafts in particular. We'll be happy to kind of talk back and forth with you guys in the chat as well. We might miss a couple, but, feel free to comment in the chat, have conversations with each other. But we're going to be looking at 2 mock drafts in particular today. And one of those is, we'll start off with NFL mocks by Jacob Schnevinski.
NFL
This is one of the most recent mocks that's kind of taken into consideration everything that happened this week in college football. At the very end of this, we'll also kind of highlight some college football performances this week. My boy Hendon Hooker put on a show last week on the stream. I said if he, even makes it a competition, he'll put himself on the map for that first round. I think he did that. I think we can all agree he did that. Jalen Hyatt looks like he's rising up boards. Will Fuller type in. What's up, Sean? Thank you so much for the sub.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you so much for subbing in.
Hit the get.
And if you guys can do us a huge favor just before we start and drop a like.
You like that?
Do you like that?
You like that?
If you like it, drop a like
that
for us
Come on.
as we start off with this mock draft. Okay, so the first landing spot here is for CJ Stroud, and he lands in Carolina here. I think we can all agree that Carolina has made the right decision to completely tank all of their assets. Right now, we hear talks about them moving CMC. If they want multiple firsts for CMC, there's no way in hell they're going to be able to trade him. No one's sending even a first-round pick for an aging running back. That just is that's ludicrous to ask.
Yeah, exactly.
Of someone, but they're making all the right moves. Robbie Anderson's out, as if that really matters. But fired the coaching staff. CJ Stroud to Carolina at the 101. How do you feel about this landing spot for CJ? How do you feel about it for the weapons around him?
Yeah, I think it would definitely benefit him. I think it benefits him. It's an organization. What's going to happen what's going to be really important is a coaching staff. Yeah. If the Panthers bring in somebody, I can't even think of somebody like I can't think of any coaching on the top of my head. Maybe you guys can name some coaches that are maybe worthy of this position.
Yeah.
But if they can get a good coaching staff, get some people, they do have some good pieces. I mean, DJ Moore, and we'll talk about him in a little bit because I was talking about this in the video. DJ Moore, you had Terrace Marshall, who we really liked coming out of LSU. There's a couple of young guys. Ian Thomas is still out there. Running backs, you probably have to draft a running back. But if you get CJ and he goes there and he can make this team a young team, build around him, I think it would be fantastic. And one thing I wanted to point out is that DJ Moore, and we've been so off on DJ Moore.
We've been right on him.
Yes. When I say off, I mean off. Yes, we've been right, but we also been off him as in like we don't want any part of him coming into the 22 season. If CJ does go, the conversation. I even said in the video, I was like, the conversation of DJ Moore, like this year's just scrapped. Nothing matters about DJ. It's a fresh start for DJ coming into 2023, and it's CJ, Bryce. I mean, even Will Levis. I think for me, in my opinion, Hendon Hooker. Whoever it is, helps DJ Moore. Like he had Sam Darnold, he had Cam Newton, he had PJ Walker. I mean, he hasn't had a good quarterback in years.
Yeah. I think in theory it does, right? Because we both really love CJ Stroud. But I don't think it just automatically will just because a rookie comes in.
No, and I agree. But I think the fact that, and what's so crazy in the fantasy community is that, well, hey, DJ Moore is only 25, he's maybe 26 years old. Like, he still got some young legs. He hasn't been really utilized crazy. I don't know.
Feels like every year we say that.
I know.
On DJ Moore, though, the reason I was completely out on him, I don't know if you guys remember on this channel, we made a video about a month before the season started, and it was like passionate players that we're selling. We're like very passionate about selling them. That was DJ Moore for me. Got roasted in the comments. It is what it is. What can you do? But I think the reason I bring that up is because when I made that video, he was the wide receiver 12 in Dynasty according to the community. And that just seemed completely unrealistic to me. Now you look at it, and he's the wide receiver 32 in the community right now in Dynasty. So if you're able to get a competent quarterback there, I think there will be a changeover where eventually he could become a value. It's just going to be interesting to see what's like left of this team. They did the right thing by drafting Ike Ekwonu last year, so at least the offensive line is going to be relatively improved. Taylor Martin is a pretty good right tackle, so their tackles are pretty well figured out. They just need to figure out the inside of their line. Is CMC going to be there? Maybe, maybe not. But if CMC's not there, DJ Moore definitely will be, and they can draft a young running back. There's a lot of running backs in this class. I think their defense is good. Just focus on building the offense this offseason and giving whoever steps into there all the keys to make those decisions. I don't dislike this landing spot at all for CJ Stroud here in Carolina, but it's not been the best landing spot for quarterbacks in the past. I think it really depends on who the coach would be. Yeah, I see a couple people saying that they're out on Ohio State quarterbacks. I definitely respect where people are coming from. What I want to encourage everyone is which is what we say every single year. Don't scout the helmet, scout the player. And you might hear that and be like, oh my God, that's so cliche, but it's true. Like CJ Stroud and Justin Fields are completely different players. Different players. And the way they approach the game, their skill sets, CJ Stroud is not a mobile quarterback. He has legs, but that's only to extend the play. Like as far as IQ goes, this might be one of the smartest quarterbacks that's come out in the last couple of years. Ability to read the field, doesn't have the one read problem. He can read 2 to 3 to 4 options on a single play. Always makes the right decisions. Arm strength is crazy. Don't only scout the helmet, scout the player as well. Now, is he in a system that is set up to succeed? Of course. But we can't only scout the helmet, guys. Scout the player. And, I see what John's saying here, but again, just because you can't name a quarterback out of Ohio State doesn't mean that CJ is going to be a bust. I think we're only looking at a college there. We're not looking at the player. Just my opinion, but I think Badake would agree.
Yeah, you just gotta wait and see what happens. Every player is different, person's different. Maybe there's a little curse on there, maybe thing. I hear you, but I agree. I see both sides.
Sure. All right, let's talk about Bryce Young at number 3 to the Lions. Very interesting. I mean, firstly, Paris Johnson to the Raiders. Do I think that's the right pick? Probably not. If I'm the Raiders, if Will Anderson's on the board, I think he's the best prospect in the class overall. So he should be the second overall pick if quarterback goes 1. I don't care if they need help on their offensive line. You don't pass up on Will Anderson Jr. But Bryce Young goes to Detroit. Whatever quarterback ends up in Detroit, I think is set up for huge success. We actually made a video on our Dynasty channel before the season started, and we had like tiered offenses, but we focused on what they could look like in the future. And the Lions were someone that we put in S tier. A lot of people didn't like that we put them in S tier. But our thought process this entire time has been they're only a quarterback away from really competing for the playoffs. I mean, this is truly one of the best offenses when you look at youth and weapons all around. Offensive line is great. You have DeAndre Swift. Amon-Ra St. Brown has fully broken out. Jamison Williams is waiting in the wing, who he might even be the best wide receiver on their team. You got TJ Hawkinson. You put Bryce Young in here. I mean, instantly, whoever the quarterback is that goes to the Lions, they are going to be set up for so much success. The offensive line is young. You got Frank Ragnow, one of the best centers in the league. Penei Sewell, who has absolutely solidified himself. So this is a beautiful landing spot. I love this for Bryce Young. And as much as I love CJ Stroud, I think if this was how it panned out, there would be a real conversation. Not to say that I would take Bryce, but there would be a real legitimate conversation as to who should be the first quarterback in Dynasty drafts. Would you agree?
No doubt about it. I think I would say it personally right now, if Bryce just go to the Lions, he
kind of cut out there.
Sorry, I said. Let me know if I'm too loud as well because I'm moving the mic now.
Okay.
I said if Bryce does go to the Lions, I think I would say now that he would be my 101 in Superflex. I love CJ. I love everything that's happening, but there's going to be no weapons around him outside of DJ Moore, hypothetically. Like, if we're just looking at the teams from what we know right now, if the season ended and you just plug and play or plug and place, the talent around in the Lions locker room is significantly better than the Panthers. So give me CJ every day. One of the best offensive lines. They still have young talent, like you said, Amon-Ra, TJ Swift, everyone there. Defense is playing not too well, but Aiden Hutchinson's still on the other side. So I'm definitely agreeing with taking him at the 101. And I don't think there will be a conversation. I think it will be the 101 personally if he does go. I think you have to look at talent. You have to look at everything potentially.
I don't know if you're including Bijan, but
yeah, exactly. Maybe not 101, but the first quarterback off the board.
For me, Bijan's like a locked and loaded 101, no questions asked. I think he is like the generational prospect that you look for every 5 years, like the Saquon Barkley. So I think maybe 102 is where we're having that conversation. Would you agree?
I would say, and I would definitely clarify saying the 101 in the quarterback standpoint, like not the 101 in the
first quarterback drafted.
Exactly, the first quarterback drafted in rookie drafts. I think that's what I would do or take.
I love this landing spot. I mean, whoever lands there definitely is set up for success. If it's CJ or Bryce, I think that locks them into the 102. Without questions. Yeah. All right, I'm going to go player by player here. The reason I haven't gone to 8 just yet is because this is a huge bombshell enters the villa type moment.
A bombshell enters the villa.
All right, at number 8. All right, we see all the defensive picks. We're not going to talk too much about defense here. Bijan Robinson to the Arizona Cardinals. I love this landing spot. I'm curious how other people feel about this. He goes top 10 in this draft. Will he go top 10? I think it's possible, but top 15 feels more likely, in my opinion. But Bijan Robinson to the Cardinals. James Conner is instantly completely irrelevant. Hopefully they can improve their offensive line, but this is probably the spark that this offense really needs in order for Kyler Murray and these weapons to take the next step. What's really been the issue with the Cardinals this year? Well, firstly, their defense is awful, and they lost a ton of playmakers in free agency. Secondly, the offense looks really stagnant, and I think that has to do with the fact that on every play, most people are assuming that it's going to be a Kyler Murray throw because they cannot establish the run game right now. James Conner has looked really average, and in fact, he has been incredibly inefficient even last year. The only reason he was relevant in fantasy was because of the touchdowns. Benjamin, clearly not the guy. Darrell Williams, clearly not the guy. You put Bijan on this team, instantly, this is one of the most explosive offenses, I reckon, in the NFC West. I mean, I think this really, you don't want to draft a running back in the first round, but when it's a generational prospect like Bijan, I think that this is truly a prospect that can impact an offense. And, what this does for Kyler Murray cannot be understated. Taking the pressure off of him of making a play every single snap. So I love this landing spot for Bijan, for the Cardinals, for Hollywood, for Kyler. I think this is a beautiful combination. And maybe if all of our dreams come true, Cliff Kingsbury won't even be the coach by then, but just signed a long-term deal, so he probably will. How do you feel about this landing spot?
I really like the landing spot. I think what my concern is it's offensive. And that's what they're already talking about now. They're talking about the injuries and the impact this offensive line is having on Kyler Murray and how much he has to use his legs. So if he does get Bijan and they don't invest in this offensive line, as much as Bijan is talented, does that hurt him in fantasy? Is he going to get stopped in the back of the line? Is it going to be more dump off? I mean, it can go either way, honestly. I mean, there's two sides of the coin where, okay, well, line's bad. Easy. Let's do some screens. Let's do some quick slants. Line Bijan out on the outside, because he can go anywhere. So I agree. I do like the landing spot. The process is they have to invest in the offensive line. I'm interested to see what that salary cap is going to look like because they have to. I mean, you have to sign Hollywood Brown to a long-term contract. They probably They probably take a hit if they do release James Conner or they keep him. In my personal opinion, I don't think it will be that much.
You could probably just keep James Conner as their 30% back who comes in when you need him.
Yeah, and then they just play Kyler. They just play Cliff. Are they going to have to pay anyone on the other side of the coming into this? Coming in like I don't know where Budda Baker's contract.
I don't know if Budda Baker's contract is up yet or not. But I believe Isaiah Simmons needs to be paid soon.
Yeah, I think it's all about cap for those Cardinals, and
Sure.
if they don't have the money and they sign Bijan without investing in the line, there's going to be a conversation coming into the season in 2023. But love the landing spot; it's going to be fantastic, and I think it could affect. I mean, you hope it affects Kyler Murray in a positive way where he doesn't have to rush anymore,
Right.
and
Yeah.
he can stay in the pocket, or he can just do quick screens, or he can do a quick out route or a Texas route for Bijan. I think you have to change the offense in some way to really get Bijan involved.
Yeah, the offense will change. I mean, this was a good offensive line before the injuries, but it's also an aging offensive line. I mean, Pugh is over 30s, so is Rodney Hudson. So I agree, like, definitely need to improve the offensive line. But a lot of people are concerned about the Jets' offensive line, right? And they've built through the draft as well. Maybe the Cardinals can do the same thing as well. But for me, Bijan locked in as a 101. I see John's comment here where he says, I love Bijan. I have several firsts in every dynasty, but I can't see drafting a running back over a quarterback in Superflex. Think now in Superflex. Would you rather have JT or Allen? I think that's an interesting question, but the chance that one of these quarterbacks hits to become Josh Allen is way slimmer than Bijan Robinson hitting and becoming a top 3 running back in Dynasty. Running backs hit at a much, much higher rate than quarterbacks. The quarterback position is completely different. So I understand, respect your opinion there, but I don't agree in the sense that every quarterback is just going to hit, because if we can go back to the 2021 class, tell me the people who drafted Trevor Lawrence over Jamar Chase. Like, how do they feel about that at the moment? And Trevor Lawrence is taking, like, all the right steps. How about the people who took Justin Fields over Jamar Chase, right? So I don't think that the answer is just quarterback, in all scenarios. I do think there is context that's very important. Would you agree with that, Badake?
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. Context is definitely important. And a lot of people like to draft in different ways. So everyone drafts this differently. One thing I wanted to say, the other team I can see Bijan going to that is in the top 20 at least.
Okay.
I don't think he falls outside the top 20. How about that? Let's straight to the top 20.
Yeah, he won't fall out to that outside the top 20.
I think it's the only team I can see is the Dolphins. I don't know if you can see somebody else. I can't see the Seahawks are not going to take him. I can't see the Falcons taking him without getting a quarterback. That would just be dumb.
I can see Chicago taking him.
Okay.
I can see Tampa Bay taking him if Brady comes back for another year. That's how. So that's like right on the 20. If he could land in Baltimore if JK doesn't pan out. I think if he falls to 27, we've talked about this. If he falls to 27, to Dallas Cowboys,
be okay.
I mean, these aren't set positions, right, for the draft. But if he falls to the Cowboys, it's game over. Wherever the Cowboys are in the first round, he will 100,000% not fall beyond the Cowboys. And the reason is, like, from Texas, right, going to Texas, Jerry Jones makes splash moves. Zeke, you can cut his contract after this year. You have an instant, like, top 5 running back to fill in straight away.
I think even
the only way. Sorry to keep interrupting, but last thing on Atlanta is, like, the only way he goes to Atlanta is if Desmond Ritter establishes himself.
They have an answer on Desmond. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if I think he is 5 picks outside of Dallas, I think Jerry is going to do everything possible to try and get him.
Yeah.
Just 5 picks.
I agree. Like, I could even see Jerry trading up. I don't
think he would trade up significantly, but I think that's what I'm saying. Within the 5 picks, I like, for example, if it ended today, the 27, and let's say the Dolphins calling back, we're going to take Bijan. Let me know what you want. I don't think he would move up that far up personally.
Yeah,
but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to wait and find out on.
Yeah, anything can happen there.
On those topics, but yeah, interesting. I really, really like this landing spot for Bijan Robinson here at 8. All right, let's keep going through it slowly. We see your comments. We're trying to, keep the stream going for people who are going to watch it later, as well as kind of integrate your comments as we go. But I love the conversations people are having in the chat. Do us a favor, drop a like as we go along. Quentin Johnston to the Jags.
This is the first wide receiver off the board. Oh, Actually, yeah, first wide receiver.
It is the first wide receiver off the board. And I don't hate it. I do not hate Quentin Johnston to the Jags. What have we been talking about Quentin Johnston all year long? It's never been a problem of talent, similar to Kayshon Boutte. What's always been the problem? The problem has been quarterback play and the system that he's in. In the last 2 weeks, Quentin Johnston has absolutely established himself, no doubt, as at minimum a top 20 pick in the NFL draft. And versus KU, puts up a ridiculous stat line: 14 catches, 206 yards, and a TUD. And the TUD was nice. Same versus Oklahoma State. You guys should go back and watch these last 2 games versus Quentin Johnston. Big X-body wide receiver. And I think I don't think it's crazy to say that he could be the first wide receiver taken in this year's draft. Do I think it happens? No. I think there's a couple other wide receivers that do get drafted ahead of him. But I really do think that could happen. How about you?
I mean, I do think it can happen. One thing I thought of, Doug Peterson. Who's Doug Peterson? Who did he have when he won the Super Bowl?
Alshon Jeffrey. That's right.
Alshon Jeffrey, really similar. I think he was 6'2" or 6'3". Quentin Johnson, 6'4". I think same height. I mean, close to the same height.
Similar body build.
Similar body build. The thought process is there. You have Trevor Lawrence that can make those type of throws. You need a contested catch type of guy. You have your slant king and Christian Kirk. He can stretch the field as well.
Slant king, that's disrespectful.
I know. But I mean,
I agree though. Like the ability for Kirk to stretch the field, and then you have Quentin Johnston as your big body X. I mean, this is a really good combination of players.
Yeah, it is. And then I don't think obviously Marvin Jones is not. Zay Jones is not the long-term answer. Do they get Quentin Johnson? They have Travis Etienne who can catch the ball in the backfields.
Yeah.
James Robinson, unrestricted free agent, undrafted free agent, who they have, who is just a bonus. The defense is looking fantastic with Travion Walker. I mean, he did that Madden play against your Commanders.
Yeah, Travion Walker looks nice.
Yeah, I think it's great.
It'll be interesting to see if James Robinson re-signs with his team or if they go full beans on ETN.
They got money, bro.
But I guess we have to separate fantasy for James Robinson and real life and efficiency. And right now, I don't know that he really has been validated enough to earn a long-term deal with big money.
No. I mean, just in general, they can get Quentin, and then get some more pieces. They improve in the offensive line.
Sure.
Maybe Quentin is not the answer. Do they go get another receiver? I'm maybe pull up some free agent wide receivers though. But even there,
let's just stay on with Quentin as a landing spot.
For sure.
But I think this is great for Trevor Lawrence. I think this is great for the offense as a whole. Something that I've talked about all offseason with Christian Kirk, who was my guy in redraft, but in Dynasty, what have I been saying all offseason? He's going to be incredible this year because of target share. However, they will bring in a big body wide receiver, and he won't be the number one anymore. And I think everyone should plan accordingly. If you can get a first for Kirk right now, I would do it. Or, for example, I made a trade recently where I was able to get Jameson Williams in one of our redraft leagues. I think I also sent a second-round pick, if I'm not mistaken. But plan accordingly, because I do think that wide receiver could really be on the table for the Jags with their first pick. Okay, we like the spot.
Love the spot.
Okay, cool. I see some questions. If it's not related to what we're talking about here, we'll do a Q&A at the end, guys. But we do see all your comments. I love everyone chatting together. All right, the next landing spot is huge as well. Jackson Smith-Njigba to the Chicago Bears. This would be huge. This would be exactly what we've been asking for the Bears to do. All offseason, we've said if they don't build around Justin Fields in 2023, then Justin Fields is completely done. There's no hope. But if this is the pick, if it's a wide receiver, and it can be Jackson, it can be another wide receiver that you want to put there, but I love this pick, and I think this instantly shows us with this pick that they will be building around Justin Fields and they believe in him. Do you agree?
Yeah, I completely agree. And, you just have to hope and believe that they do get either offensive weapons. Even, I think the biggest thing here is that they get a weapon for him and then they build offensive line for Justin Fields.
Yeah, agreed.
In the offseason. And then that can really help take the next step for Justin in now going into his third year, which is crazy. Or going into his third year at the end of this year. But yeah, I think it's a great landing spot. This is a landing spot. We all said they both played at Ohio State.
Yeah.
And even though they didn't play together, they were on the same team. Justin Fields I guess you quote unquote graduated while Jackson Smith came onto the team. He was a freshman then at the time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So if they can get Jackson Smith and an O-line in free agency, sure, let's do it.
That's the route I would be looking for. I see John's comment there. I agree. Like, you definitely need to protect him, build around that offensive line.
Yeah.
But it's the whole. Remember when we had that the Penei Sewell and the Jamar Chase memes, where it's like throw to anyone with Penei Sewell blocking. You know what I mean? Or take a sack with Jamar Chase out there. If they can at least like address it and put together a better offensive line, every quarterback, a breakout only typically happens when they get that elite wide receiver or a drafted wide receiver to the team. You know, working with Equanimous St. Brown, even though it's a badass name. You know, Dante Pettis, Darnell Mooney, no disrespect to Mooney, but he's a wide receiver 2 at best. You got to give my guy something to work with. So I agree. There's a lot of needs for this team. But Jackson Smith, I think I would really, really love that landing spot. And I think we both agree on that.
Yeah.
Right now, who's your wide receiver 1 in this class?
Jackson
Smith. Yeah.
Yeah. That's him, man. He's my number 1 at the
Yeah. Right now, I feel like it's completely up for grabs between Jackson Smith, Quentin, and Jordan Addison.
Okay.
It's going to be interesting to see who solidifies himself. All right, on to the next pick. Will Levis to the Seattle Seahawks. I'm not a big Will Levis guy. I know there's hype out there, so I'm going to hand this one over to you because I'm not the right person to hype this one up.
No, and I'll be honest with you, I like Will Levis. I don't like the landing spot. Okay. I don't believe he fits this offense purely based. If I'm looking at a fantasy perspective, I think this hurts DK and I think this hurts Tyler Lockett. Will Levis as a quarterback, like if he did go to the Panthers hypothetically, I think he's going to use his legs more. He doesn't help, DJ Moore, but he will be a mobile quarterback. Where I think here he's going to be forced because of the contracts, because of DK, because of Tyler Lockett. He's an older guy. It might be a little bit different. But look, Will Levis as a talent, I like what he's doing. The progression that's happening. He played last week. They won last week, and I love everything that he's doing. I think he is a dual threat quarterback. He can use his legs, and he has the arm. So I like Will Levis. Does this help the Seattle Seahawks? I'm not sure if he fits into this offense because they don't run the offense that they don't run a quick slant offense. It's more like let the route develop and then you throw the ball.
Sure.
That's why
the
I
offense,
don't see,
you're right, would have to change completely.
Yeah, I don't see that happening here for Will.
Yeah.
But I love the talent, just don't think it's the right fit.
Yeah. You step into a situation that's pretty good. Offensive line has definitely improved with Charles Cross there. Great weapons in Lockett and Metcalf and Ken Walker. But you're right. It's an interesting landing spot because I feel like he almost fits a system better that has no identity just yet. That they can
build around him.
Build their identity around him. For me, I've been saying this all offseason. I just don't think he's a first-round pick. Like I personally don't value him as a first-round pick. But there's certain players that I'm just out on, and that's okay. I could 100% be wrong. I see all the raw materials, but for every Josh Allen, there are hundreds of failed projects, so it's easy to point at one, but let's not forget all the failed projects out there. Not to say that he will fail, but you're right, the landing spot's interesting. All right, next offensive player off the board, I think it actually is Hendon Hooker. Which I am more than happy to talk up Hendon Hooker. I don't know if you guys remember this. On the stream last week, I brought Hendon Hooker. I actually brought him in week 3 as one of these guys to keep on your radar. And last week, I had said this game versus Bama is going to be really interesting. If he can even make it close, he's going to put himself on the map and be in consideration for a late first, early second type consideration as a quarterback. The response in the chat was mostly, and I understand, well, he is so old. Right, he'll be 25 when he's drafted. And I understand the concern. I genuinely do understand the concern. But if you look at his career in college when he was at Virginia Tech to when he transferred, you can see huge, massive strides in Hendon Hooker's game. And to me, he's someone who takes care of the ball. The IQ is 100% there. The arm strength is 100% there. He's a dual threat quarterback. We can see his performance here versus Alabama this week. He threw his first interception of the year, but still, my guy is throwing 70% completion percentage in the SEC versus the best defenses in the country. 15 tuds and 1 interception on the year. On the ground, he's put up 3 tuds. Dual threat, true dual threat. I love Hendon Hooker, and I think this landing spot for Hendon Hooker, a lot of people will not draft him in Dynasty because he's going to be 25. But you put him in Tampa Bay with that coaching staff, with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, maybe if Fournette is still there. The offensive line hopefully will improve. That's a beautiful landing spot for Hendon Hooker. They could instantly still make the playoffs with him as a rookie. I think he's probably the most mature quarterback in this class. I think he's done the most growth as a collegiate athlete. So I really love this landing spot. To me, this would solidify him as a late first-round pick in Dynasty rookie drafts for myself. How do you feel about this landing spot?
No, look, I love the landing spot, and I think if someone like Hooker goes to the Bucks, not that everyone's value is doesn't drop. I don't think it drops as drastically as we would have anticipated.
If it was like Kyle Trask.
Yeah, exactly. If it was Kyle Trask, we're trying to sell Mike Evans, maybe Chris Godwin right now because we don't want the chance on Kyle Trask playing for a whole year and then just making all these guys completely irrelevant. Where Hooker comes in, it's like, okay, I'll take a chance on Mike if I still have him. I'll take a chance on Godwin if I still have him. Even Lenny. That gives Lenny more of an opportunity to stay having confidence and seeing Hendon Hooker perform. He did just beat Alabama. That's crazy. That is that's what everyone's going to be talking about. In his
put
career,
himself on the map, man. He really
put himself on the map, and I think it's fantastic. The offensive line is decent. I think it's continued to grow. All the weapons there
for sure, but
and then you have Rashad White, a young guy. So I think it's good. I think it's really good. Even if Lenny walks, Rashad White's there. You have all this talent. Let's see what he can do and where he can go. But I like Hendon Hooker going to the Bucs.
Side note, by the way, everyone who held on to Chris Godwin, if this was a pick, I think would be well rewarded. For someone that we consider with Tom Brady a top 12 guy, on a weekly basis in redraft. So again, Hendon Hooker is not a guaranteed thing, but what's beautiful about Hooker's game is, yes, he's old, but you have seen the constant progression year after year for him. And right now, he's absolutely put himself on the map, beat Bama. I mean, how many teams can say that they've beat Bama? And he's facing the best defenses every single week. So I like this. I like this a lot.
Yeah.
All right. The next pick is Jordan Addison, who lands with the Ravens.
I wonder why he fell so far at number 1.
I was curious about that as well.
There was a lot of teams. He could have went to the Patriots. He could have went to the Falcons. He could have went to maybe not Washington. I mean, I don't know. I think there was a lot of teams he could have went Packers as well. He could have went to a lot of teams.
Sure. How funny is it that even in this draft, the Packers didn't get a wide receiver in the first round?
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like New England's a good fit for Addison as well. I look at New England. I look at Jacksonville. The Bears is a good fit. Is anyone in the above that a good fit? I guess the Texans will probably be too high to really justify that. But I still think that Addison should be in conversation as one of the first wide receivers off the board.
I think so as well, and I think the fact
has
that
done
he
nothing
fell
to hurt his capital.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll talk about the Ravens.
Yeah, this is rough.
We said something that you said so far, even with Rashad Bateman. Last year, the coaching staff was saying we want to open up the playbook. We're going to open up the playbook, and it was great. We need to draft a wide receiver. They draft Rashad Bateman. He was hurt the first year. Didn't really see much of an improvement. They get rid of Hollywood Brown coming into the 23 draft. Rashad Bateman comes in this year. Doesn't necessarily show.
It was wheels up. It was wheels up. We're ready to go.
Yeah, we're ready to go. And then they barely target any wide receivers. Yeah. Still, Lamar is still throwing it to Mark Andrews, and only Mark Andrews still the RB1 there. So is that something has to change? For us to see Jordan Addison, if this is a real draft, he is definitely the last. I mean, maybe in talent wise, is it tough to? I will take Jordan Addison over Quentin Johnson still.
If this were the landing spots?
If this were the landing spots in order.
No way. I'm taking Quentin.
You're taking Quentin?
Okay. I'm officially all in on the thought process that you cannot trust a receiver with Lamar Jackson. I'm officially all in on that thought process.
Okay.
Just because Bateman is incredible. I truly loved Bateman out of Minnesota. I remember you and I talking about it. I was like,
he was amazing.
I mean, this guy, like, realistic ceiling could be Keenan Allen, like floor Marvin Jones. We were really excited about him as a prospect. Landed in Baltimore, and the thought process was, I'm still excited. Like, I think this could work, but when the coaching staff comes out and says we're going to put a real effort into prioritizing wide receivers, and then Bateman on like 4 targets scores touchdowns, it's like, okay, that's great, but you can't do that every week. You know, you put Addison in there with Bateman. I mean, what are they getting? 4 targets a game?
Right.
It's really hard for me. If this was how it panned out, right? Quentin to the Jags, Jackson to the Bears, and Addison to the Ravens, I would have Addison as a third guy of those 3.
What if the context was different though? Let's say Bateman finishes top 25.
He still can in points per game. He still can.
What if he does finish top 25 and he's averaging about 5 targets? Does that change the? And we see steps for him. We see steps for Lamar trying to target this wide receiver. Does that change for you? Like, does that say, okay, they can actually move in a certain way with Jordan Addison?
I might be open to it, but again, he's still gonna have like a X on my draft boards where it's just like, I don't want to deal with the unknowns.
Yeah,
like, I know who Lamar Jackson is. I think he's incredible. He's incredible as a fantasy quarterback. He's incredible for them winning games, but it doesn't mean that he can support multiple. Now we're talking about multiple wide receivers. That's a problem. It's not just Bateman anymore. Now we have multiple wide receivers.
Yeah, it won't be clear like right off the rip who's going to be the wide receiver 1 there, because
and it will just like, I mean, Duvernay now has games where he pops off. It's like, well, you know, what will Duvernay be when Bateman's back? So it's tough. It's tough. And I see John's comment, and I agree. Like, he's not playing all the snaps right now for sure. I can definitely understand that conversation point. But again, to me, I love Addison. He's my favorite wide receiver right now in this class, talent-wise. But if this was a landing spot, I'm still not risking it personally. But I understand that that's a huge risk reward for some people, and I could be wrong. Just like I could be wrong on Will Levis. Like, I'm going to be wrong on some things.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. The next landing spot we had, I believe, was a running back, or it was wide receiver. It was Kayshon Boutte to the New York Football Giants.
Kayshon Booty.
How do you feel about this landing spot for your New York Giants?
It's interesting. If this happens, that means we are moving forward with Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I was gonna say, how do you feel about that?
I don't know how I would feel about that. One thing they've always said, and I've seen a lot of reporters even say this, ESPN people, it was like, okay, what happened with Josh Allen? What did Josh Allen need? He needed a wide receiver, a stud wide receiver, and they went out and got Stephon Diggs, and his ceiling skyrocketed through the roof. We know what Daniel Jones' ceiling is, so I don't think this actually helps him. But if we can get a big body wide receiver in X, we have a Wandell, we have Kadarius Toney if he does stay healthy, whatever the case may be.
Healthy. Yeah.
Maybe it does can unlock something out of Daniel Jones. He's one of the most accurate deep ball passers coming in 2022 and last year 2021, excuse me. In the limited times he actually threw the deep ball, but I'm interested to see. I mean, I just want to say this. Anthony Richardson hasn't been taken in the first.
Yeah.
And who else has been taken? KJ hasn't been taken in the first.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me either.
Do we not take a chance on one of those guys?
Right.
But hey, I'm okay with the landing spot. Same, and with the thought about Kayshon and everything that's happening this year. Bad quarterback. It doesn't really improve his stock. But I mean, I think you said it. If he is the number 1 in talent wise, if I'm not mistaken, you said. In
I
this
think he
class.
should be in the consideration as the number 1 talent in the class.
Yeah.
But
So like,
again, like just like Quentin Johnston, the problem hasn't been his talent. It's been we don't have a reliable quarterback in the system to really get production. But to be fair, this week put on a show versus Florida, 6 catches for 115 yards. He looked really, really good. Looked like his old self. And then we can go back to previous years and see great production from him as well. I think this is a smash home run for you. I'll be honest. Like, I think this is a home run. You put Anthony Richardson on this team. Is he any better than Daniel Jones? Like, he has more raw ability, but who is he throwing the ball to? You can't just put Anthony Richardson on this team and be like, all right, you got Wandale. Good luck.
Yeah.
Now, KJ Jefferson's interesting because you put KJ Jefferson on your team. I think you can build around him with the weapons that you currently have, because I think he's got he's a smarter IQ, takes care of the ball, just kind of like the Jalen Hurts type fit. So it's interesting.
I hear you. It is interesting.
I don't think Richardson. I think Richardson would 100% fail with the weapons you currently have.
No, and I get it, and that's why it's tough. Because like if I'm seeing this, that means.
Sorry, you cut out there.
I said, if I'm seeing this, that means we're committing to Daniel Jones, which, once again, I don't know how I feel, but if we make it to the playoff, I said this, if we make it to the playoffs, and that means we know Daniel Jones is the answer. When I say the answer,
like he will at least be re-signed.
Yeah, he would exactly. He would at least be re-signed. Not the answer to win a Super Bowl, not the answer to be the best quarterback ever, but he's a guy that can help us win games, and he's been doing that. He's been driving us down in the fourth quarter, so.
Look, as little as I believe in Daniel Jones, I really don't think we can sit here and say, honestly, that he has had the right things around him to really stand out. So,
yeah.
Just
imagine Daniel Jones just freaking pops off right now.
Imagine Badake is what he needs.
Bro, that is ridiculous to think that we had that sort of talent on our team for the last 4 years.
It's also just hypothetical. Shout out to James Barron. Thank you so much for the sub. It's also hypothetical, right? So, let's see. All right, Keishon Butte. I like the landing spot specifically for your team. I don't know how I feel about it for Butte, but I think he instantly becomes like the number 1 target there, and that really intrigues me. If Daniel Jones can do, like, at least create a simplified offense to put Butte in good situations. Whoever gets Butte at the end of the first is going to get a huge steal, I think. A huge steal.
First of all, I don't see how Jerry doesn't take Butte.
True, I agree.
I don't see how. Well, that's really the only team.
Butte isn't necessarily like the, he's not necessarily like the Quentin Johnston of this class. He's 6 foot. He's not 6'4". So Butte can still play on the outside. He can still be an X, but I don't think like he's like the clear, complement to a CeeDee Lamb. So it'll be interesting. Let's see how the board plays out.
Yeah.
I don't think that the Cowboys go defense though. All right.
No way. Oh my god.
The next pick, I think we have one more, and it's from the Eagles. The Eagles land Jahmyr Gibbs. This is an interesting one because I've been a big advocate of buying Miles Sanders this offseason. We do our buy-sell series. We looked at the analytics for Miles Sanders last year, and he just looked like the most unlucky running back in all of fantasy football.
Yeah.
And now I think we've seen, he's always been good. It's just he hasn't been used properly. Now you put Jahmyr Gibbs here. I'm assuming Miles Sanders isn't coming back. How do we feel about this landing spot for Gibbs?
I like it. I think it makes sense. They can use him in the outside, and they use him in the backfield with the speed that he has. I know that a lot of people don't like Jalen Hurts, and they think that he'll probably take it away from him, from his opportunity. But I do like Jahmyr Gibbs. I think they would trust him more. He's bigger than Miles. He's
not bigger than Miles.
He's not bigger than Miles?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, then maybe that kind of defeats my purpose. I was like,
what I'm trying to say is I don't think Miles Sanders comes back if they make this pick. Miles Sanders is 5'11", 211, so Gibbs is a little bit smaller.
Yeah, actually a little bit smaller. Okay, Gibbs just looks bigger than Miles. Personally, if just on the field,
sure,
just looks bigger.
I don't think size is an issue for either of them. I think overall my concern is like This isn't an offense where, like, because for Gibbs, it's like we're looking at Alvin Kamara potentially. We're looking at Aaron Jones potentially. And you put him in with Jalen Hurts. Look, Jalen Hurts, I was wrong on Jalen Hurts so far, 100%. But that doesn't mean that Jahmyr Gibbs has the same upside on this team than he does a different team that is going to do a lot more dump-offs. If Jalen Hurts is in trouble, is he dumping the ball off or is he trying to rush for 10 yards? He's trying to rush for 10 yards. So I think this could potentially limit Jahmyr Gibbs' upside. Now, you're on an incredible offense. So you assume that because you're on an incredible offense, there's more scoring opportunities. So that is good for Jahmyr Gibbs. But do you see where I'm coming from? Like, I feel like there are other teams that I would prefer. Let me look at some other teams here. So
That's what I was looking. That's what I was looking, because I don't see him going like.
So let's say he makes it past the first round. Okay,
right.
We'll look at the second round order here. Like if Carolina moves on from CMC, I think that could make a lot of sense. Like, he'll be the first pick in the second round. You got CJ Stroud, you got DJ Moore. Now you add Jahmyr Gibbs, another PPR threat to your team. The other team that I think could make sense. Let's see. I mean, Philly's got another pick. Oh wait, that would be the Saints pick now. I mean, the Saints, would that be crazy if they draft Kamara's replacement?
Yeah. Okay.
You got Chicago could make sense there in the second round. Atlanta could make sense in the second round.
People in the comeback there, like, okay, this is where I'm going now. So, yeah, if we're looking at the comeback on round 2, I see Texans, Panthers, like you said.
Yeah.
If the Cardinals don't take Bijan, Jahmyr can go there.
Yeah.
If the Bears do get rid of Monty, he can go there.
Sure, I agree. There's lots of spots for him. I guess overall, my thought process is just like I worry about a capped upside in this scenario. It's like even if he was to go to like Baltimore, for example, that's kind of how I feel as well. Like J.K. Dobbins doesn't get many receptions. That's just because that's not like when you have a mobile quarterback. The beauty of the mobile quarterback is when he's in trouble, he can use his legs.
Well, I feel like that's the
think about these other quarterbacks. It's like when Justin Herbert's in trouble, he finds Austin Eckler. You know, like not that he's not immobile, but
and I think that's the problem. Like the NFL is changing to where like you're not going to sit. Justin Herbert is not that. You're right. He's not immobile, but he's not a guy that to choose to run first. Where all these quarterbacks that we see here are choosing to run first. You know, like
right. But there, you know, for every quarterback that runs first, there's way more that don't. You know, like for example, you know, in Indianapolis, Matt Ryan doesn't run first. I wouldn't say Tua runs first. Aaron Rodgers and Mac Jones and you know, Carson Wentz, for example, like all these other guys. So you're right. It is moving towards like that being the desired from a quarterback, but not every quarterback is going to be in that conversation either.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, every single year we look at something like this, we say there's no way this guy is going to fall here. Next minute he falls to like the 5th round, and like holy shit. Like I guess he's just bad in the NFL's eyes.
Yeah. Well, that is the first round. Again, this is from NFL Mocks by Jacob. I don't know how to say his last name. We wanted to. I don't think we have enough time to go through it like we did on this one, Badake. But we wanted to show you guys a 3-round mock. This is from Tankathon, and we just wanted to quickly breeze over some landing spots. All we're gonna say is, do you like the spot? Yes or no. Quick thought. Move on. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you know there's a lot of different landing spots here, and we just want to quickly review them as well with you guys. So CJ, Bryce go to the same spot here, but then Jackson Smith goes to the Texans. Like it or dislike it?
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
I'd rather them have a quarterback other than Davis Mills to grow with, but could be worse.
Yeah, I don't think they would go with like Will or somebody at this point if it's just like Davis Mills. You know, I don't know. I could be wrong though.
Yeah, I feel like you take a shot on a quarterback with one of these picks.
Yeah.
Will Levis to the Seahawks. We've already talked about that landing spot. Don't love it. Jordan Addison to the Bears. I like this landing spot. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, we said that they need to get a wide receiver. It's Jordan Addison, Kayvon, or Jackson Smith and Jigba. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay, so here Bijan goes to the Falcons, which is very, very intriguing to me. That could be a very good landing spot for him. Now you got Bijan, you got Kyle Pitts, you got Drake London, and you have Calvin Ridley potentially. That could be a nasty offense.
Yeah,
for sure. If what's his nuts can be competent. Desmond Ridder. Michael Mayer was not in the last mock draft, but he's the tight end out of Notre Dame. Pretty good tight end. All around game is there for sure. Kind of that George Kittle type beat. Maybe not as good of a blocker for sure, but like as far as like an all around game, he has it. Landing in Cincinnati, excuse me, that could be really interesting.
It could be interesting.
Keep building around the weapons around Joe Burrow.
5-headed monster over there, something. Some 4-headed monster. It's going to be a lot.
All right, so we got Quentin Johnston to the Packers. I like that landing spot. Kayshon Boutte to the Ravens. Don't love that, but
about that.
It could happen. Okay, Jahmyr Gibbs to the Bills. Everyone who drafted James Cook cries when they see that.
I think it's the same thing when I think of the Bills and the Eagles. Like,
sure.
I don't know. I think it's gonna be capped as well, unless like it's specific.
I agree. I would say if Gibbs falls to Bills or Eagles, like dual threat quarterbacks, I think he locks in as like a top 4 pick.
Yeah.
Regardless, because it's a good offense.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. A lot of James Cook owners would not be happy with that. All right, in the second round, we have Josh Downs to the Browns. I think that is way too early for Josh Downs. Is he a field stretcher? Yes, but you already have Donovan Peoples-Jones, and I think Josh Downs' game is really limited outside of what he can offer. He's not a tall wide receiver. He's not a big body contested guy at all. He's 5'10", 175 pounds. However, can stretch the field. Is not like, I don't want to compare him to Jahan Dotson at all because he doesn't have anywhere near the hands, but I can see how he can contribute to an offense. I just think this is too high for him.
Yeah.
Darnell Washington, the big-ass tight end out of Georgia, goes to Washington. That could be interesting.
That could be interesting.
Cedric Tillman to the Pats.
That could be good. Yeah, actually don't mind that. Hendon Hooker once again to the Bucks.
Second round though, yeah, I like that. Anthony Richardson here goes to the Colts. And then I assume the Colts start Matt Ryan for another year and let Anthony Richardson develop. That could be interesting. I actually don't hate that landing spot at all.
Maybe.
Good coaching staff, good offensive line around him, good wide receivers, one of the best running backs in the NFL.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Jaron Hall, we talked about a little bit. They have him mocked going to your Giants. He's the quarterback out of BYU.
Yeah, don't know much about him, but interesting.
Yeah, he's interesting. He's had a pretty good year, 17 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Pretty accurate passer. I wouldn't really call him a dual threat, but he can use his legs to extend plays. Not really like the big body you're looking from, but has a very interesting game. We should definitely keep him on.
Yeah, there's a lot of people I've heard like in my Giants forums that said they don't mind him, that he could be an Danny Dimes. Yeah. We gotta wait and see. I gotta do some more research on him. I haven't even looked into him honestly, but I mean he looks all right. He has a body frame and he's throwing the ball decent. It looks like.
Yeah. Next pick, offensive wise, is Zay Flowers, who this is a kind of like a weapon, if you will, out of Boston College, I believe. Yeah, Boston College. I guess we can at least put him on people's radar. Do I believe he should be drafted this high? No, I don't really think he should. 5'10", 172. Good athlete, but I'm not sure that he should go this high. We'll have to wait. I need to watch more of his film, but that's interesting. I mean, what does that mean for Sky Moore? For the rest of this offense, we're not really sure, to be honest.
Yeah.
All right, what are some other landing spots here? Let's quickly go through this third round. A.T. Perry. Zach Evans goes to the Cardinals. I love that.
Sheesh.
I'm a big Zach Evans guy. I love that fit for him. A.T. Perry, that could be interesting. Marvin Mims to the Colts.
Tank Bigsby.
Tank Bigsby to the Dolphins. How would you feel about Tank Bigsby to the Dolphins?
It'll be interesting. A big body guy. Get him in the end zone. Goal line guy. Hey, Dameon Pierce in Miami. Just slower.
Yeah. Tank Bigsby's acceleration speed is
just significantly slower.
is something to watch.
Just a big dude.
So we get Sean Tucker going to Baltimore. I actually like this landing spot for Sean Tucker. I think
it
makes a lot of sense as well. Sean Tucker, definitely not a small back. 5'10", 210 pounds. I think he could fit that system. Not necessarily not that Sean Tucker can't pass catch, because he's been doing that this year, but I wouldn't say it's his specialty. More of like the Nick Chubb, put your head down and find a hole. So I like this spot for him.
And that's their identity, yeah. So very interesting. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. We got Devin Akane. We're, unless you've changed, we're completely out on Devin Akane.
Yeah, I'm out. No thank you.
So this wouldn't do anything for me. That would just be someone I wouldn't care about, if I'm honest with you. I don't know who Jaheim Bell is. We'll have to read up on him a little bit more. What I wanted to see, only 3 rounds. Okay. So guys that weren't in that mock draft.
KJ Jefferson was a guy that you're really big on.
They still haven't given my guy KJ any respect, even though he just came back from an injury and put up 5 touchdowns while throwing for over 72, completed over 72% of his passes.
Yeah.
There's still no respect for my guy KJ. What does he have to do to put himself on the map? I mean, lost Treylon Burks and still putting up an incredible year. There was also no DJ Ungalele, who I think is really, starting to redeem himself. Cameron Ward's an interesting name. I'm curious how the chat feels about Cameron Ward. Really interesting story. I don't see it. Really cool story, but some people have him mocked in the first round. I'm like, no way. He wasn't there. How about Tyler Van Dyke? Did you get to watch his game this week? It was much better.
I did.
Versus Virginia Tech. Had a much better game.
He did have a much better game. Once again, I still love the talent. I think the IQ is there. I think he's just been struggling lately. I think he lost pieces. He's just been up and down.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting with Tyler. I think he might be like a second or third round pick.
Yeah.
Moving
kind
forward.
Of agree there, yeah.
If
he can do what he did last week and continue to do it, he can solidify himself as a second, third round pick for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's okay for teams in the second round that needs that's why I said if Daniel Jones not the answer and we stay with him, get Tyler Van Dyke, get him in for a couple for a little bit, or maybe he goes to a team that needs a quarterback. Like bring him to, let's say they get rid of Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, let him sit back there. Or
oh my gosh,
and whatever the case may be, maybe the Rams. He's a backup for the Rams in the second round. Matthew Stafford, and let him sit there. I don't know. I think, but maybe he needs to develop a little bit more.
A couple of running backs that weren't on this that I wanted to highlight as well. Zach Charbonnet. He was actually one of my. He probably would have been like my RB4 last year. And I wish he came out last year, but he's done really well. Been uber efficient with his touches. Big body guy, but he is an older running back. And then how about Blake Corum? Of all the small running backs, I think he should be the one who's actually considered that could be relevant in an NFL offense. 5'8", but he's got the big body, 210 pounds. He's been incredible. I mean, since the Maryland game, he hasn't rushed for less than 120 yards, and he's put up a touchdown in every single performance. So he's looked incredible. 13 tuds on the year.
Yeah.
I think he could work his way into like a third round pick. I think that could potentially happen.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. Don't really know.
Not really anyone else that I think was super missed on. There's a couple other names that I just want to put on people's radar though, just quickly before we end the stream. One of those names is Xavier Hutchinson. I was able to watch this Texas and Iowa State game, and Hutchinson just produces. Like he just puts up numbers. He's 6'3", 205 pounds. Really ideal body size to either have as a Y or an X. Now, if you watch this game, he dropped the game-winning wide-open touchdown, and that would have killed him. Like they should have won that game, but he's been producing multiple weeks in a row, and hasn't had a game where he's had less than 8 catches. I mean, he's been a production monster.
Yeah.
And the other name that I wanted to put on people's radars is Chase Brown. We talked about him a little bit last week, but 41 rushing attempts versus Minnesota this week.
Crazy.
41 rushing attempts.
I saw a couple highlights of him. He went crazy. He went crazy. Yeah.
I don't think he necessarily stands out in any sort of category, but I think he can contribute to an NFL backfield. So just wanted to put him on the map as well. If you have anyone you want to talk about, or we can open up to a Q&A.
Yeah, let's do Q&A. Man, I don't have anyone else. I think you hit on everything, so I feel really confident in people.
All right, we can definitely take some questions now for about 5 minutes before we end the stream. Let's see what questions we have in the chat.
I see a couple. I don't know where you left off. Actually, you leave me because I don't know where you left off.
Let's go with Jason here. There's a lot of questions we weren't able to get to today, but a lot of people have comments or conversations in the chat. Jason says, "Do you guys think Giants keep Barkley?"
Oh, I would hope so. I think if there's a time to spend money, and that's the time to keep him. He has so far earned, the ability to get a long-term contract. Maybe it's a 2-year, it's a 3-year. I'm happy. I hope we keep him.
Will. I think you will. You can't go 5-1 and then lose your best offensive player.
Yeah, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think they lose. I think the Panthers get rid of CMC. They're trying to get rid of him now, but I think we keep. If there is a part, it's Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Period.
Yep. Caleb says 23 mid first or 24 late first and 23 late second. I'll take a 23 mid first.
23 mid first, yeah.
I still like the 24 class though.
Yeah.
Let's see. Jasmine's back. Good to have you, Jasmine.
Rashad
Bateman's been very good though. You can't deny that. John says I have 4 23 first and 5 seconds. Nice, brother. My team was torn down and needs everything. Who do I prioritize? What would your strategy be? I mean, so you have 4 23 firsts. I would prioritize getting a couple quarterbacks. Honestly, if you need everything, just best player available. That's how I would approach the draft.
That's what I was going to say. Best player available potentially, or maybe if team needs torn down and get whatever.
Yeah. And keep in mind, of course, that we will be doing a bunch of rookie drafts that you guys can see, when we get towards that season, John. So feel free to, join us. Just subscribe. We do a ton of rookie drafts where we even let the community in, and we all get to mock together. So, definitely join us. We'd love to have you. Dylan says Keaton Mitchell could be a really good change of pace in an outside zone scheme. Yeah, it definitely could. Nathan says I'm 5-1 in the fantasy stock exchange Dino League. And just lost Hollywood to injury. My other wide receivers are Cup, Waddle, Lamb, and not much depth behind that. Who should I target as a wide receiver for? In a Dynasty League, that's tough, man. In a Dynasty League, that is tough.
Get a Wandale. Alec Pierce. Get somebody low. I don't know. Somebody small, young, if you want to go young.
Alec Pierce could actually be interesting, depending on how much he'll cost you.
I'm trying to think of somebody else.
Yeah.
That's all I can think of right now. Those are 2 players we keep saying you should go out and get, or we said to go 2 weeks ago now. If you're just trying to win now and you can get a low price, I'm really happy with Alan Lazard.
I would say like Amari Cooper instantly comes to mind.
Okay.
I've been talking about him all offseason as like a value, and when Deshaun Watson comes back, whenever that will be, I think his value just completely rises. So right now people are still a little sketchy on him because it's Jacoby. He's an aging wide receiver. I think you can send a mid second and probably get Amari Cooper right now and instantly pop him into your lineup. And again, the Browns are going to have a really hard job to replace him as their top option with the lack of depth or the lack of draft capital that they have.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Paco. Jasmine says, I had Pitts and Schultz, traded Schultz for a 23 second round pick before the season started. Nice. Beaver says, as of now, who's your wide receiver without knowing landing spot? Pure talent. So, who's the wide receiver 1?
For me, it's Jackson.
Man. You think it's Jackson Smith?
I think it had just, yeah. And I'm just going based off what we've seen in the past 2 years with Jackson Smith, with Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. I think he picks off of that route tree. He picks off of that mentality. And the success we've seen already in the NFL with the 6-7 weeks we've seen, once he goes to whatever team he goes to, he's going to be the guy. With Jordan Addison, I think he can be the same thing. But I think for me, is the safer bet, in my opinion, without landing spot. If I'm looking on tape, I think it's Jackson.
Yeah, this is tough because I really do think that all four of these guys are really talented in different ways. Right now, I lean Jordan Addison, kind of the Calvin Ridley type prospect from this year's draft. But I could sway either way between these top four. I think these top four are true impact NFL wide receivers, guys who can be wide receiver one on their teams. Yeah. And they all offer something a little bit different. Quentin Johnston, I would say he's really the only big body, like 6'4" guy that I'm obsessed with in this class. Kayshon Boutte is around the 6 foot. Jordan Addison's more the Calvin Ridley. I really don't know between these four. I haven't landed on one. If I had to say right now, without seeing the rest of the season or watching more of their film, it would be Jordan Addison. So it's close.
Yeah, and Jackson has been injured, so that can hurt his
Jackson
draft
has
stock.
been injured.
That can hurt his draft stock, but I don't think that would.
Just like Kayshon, just like I haven't been worried about Kayshon all that much. It's like, look at the body of work with Jackson. So
yeah.
Jason says, would you trade a 23 first rounder for Ayuk? I would much rather have the first rounder.
Agreed.
Isaiah says D-Hop, if he's on a losing team, might be a little cheaper than usual. He could, for sure.
True.
Reaver says Jackson's my guy, low-key keeping up his injury, low-key eyeing up his injury and hoping he somehow falls to the 5'8" range where I have a second pick. Yeah. I think he could fall to 5. It just depends on what the rest of the year looks like. Dolchitz had a good game for sure. It was good to see him out there. But anyway, guys, we'll probably end the stream here. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys.
Let us know if you liked this kind of content where we look at someone's mock draft and we talk about the landing spots and how it could impact Dynasty. We might do this on a weekly basis if you guys enjoy it enough. Huge love. Drop a like on your way out. 5 likes away from 50. With your help, I think we can probably get there.
50.
Twin Caliber says, I ended up buying Hopkins and Allen Robinson for a late 23 first. Still unsure. Yeah, I think you'd probably prefer the first at this point. Hey, Twin. But I think that really depends on how long D-Hop can be relevant for. So you've got enough time there. Allen Robinson had a good week, though. He had a good week. Let's see if they can keep scheming him into the red zone.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Huge love. 3 likes away from 50. Help us get there. Good luck this week. Dynasty videos coming out very soon as well. Appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your night. All love.